welcome back to another episode of our Faith-Based Marriage Secrets podcast. I am Caitlin.
I am Airless.
And I am Coach D.
And today we are wrapping up
We are wrapping this bad boy up.
Topic, marriage, God's mechanism of empowerment.
Yes, marriage is designed to be a mechanism of empowerment. Like, that perspective is revolutionary.
100%.
It's revolutionary. Like most husbands, most wives' perspective of marriage is actually the opposite. They don't see it as this empowerment of this mechanism of being empowered or for them to empower. They look at it as a mechanism to be depleted.
Yep. I was just going to say
drained.
Yep.
You know, to be instead of empowered, to be disempowered. Mm-hmm. Most husbands are trained, man. When you get married, you lose all the power. Well, says who? Where you getting that stuff from, man? Right, you good.
From other dead men.
From other dead men. What's the thing called? Man, what's the little joke? Just do what the wife say. No, there's no thing about
happy wife, happy life.
Happy wife, happy life. But no, it's a thing they got where you just. It's either with a commercial or somewhere we just whatever she say, just say yeah to it. Like it speaks to like a husband being stripped of all of his power, his rights, his liberties. The wife being made to submit and she don't get it. Like that's all everything about the divorce culture and what it speaks about marriage, to the attributes of marriage that really matter from the husband being the leader, the wife being submissive, the husband being submissive. To femininity, masculine, all of those things are seen as liabilities, are seen as being something that is not to be esteemed, are seen as disempowerment attributes instead of empowerment attributes, and that's where everybody's going wrong.
Yeah, the divorce culture is designed around the people's immaturity, the child in them, right? Mm-hmm. We talked about before the measure of a mature lover is in the way they love, right? And their ability to, push through whatever they may be feeling to still, love in spite of, not because of.
Let me add this to it because it's important. The way the Bible measures maturity, the way the Bible measures spiritual maturity. Because when you add that dimension, that changes it.
Right.
Man, I almost want to say this thing.
Come on, say it. Say it. It's a podcast. Say it. Say it. What they gonna do?
Well, I know I ain't gonna do nothing. You hate to point this stuff out because you don't know all of the facts in the matter. But I'll say it anyway. Some of our most esteemed leaders, who are perceived to be the spiritual ones, been divorced 2 and 3 times.
And people take that as, he got experience. He know what he talking about now. Mm-hmm. No, he didn't fail multiple times, and you want to take his word for it?
It failed at multiple times at the thing that's at the core of the ministry.
Right.
And again, we don't know the specifics, right? So that's why you hate to say that, because it could be a situation where well, I don't even know if I can say that. I was about to say it could be a situation where it was warranted. But why was it warranted? Was everything being done that could have been done? Mm-hmm. Like you know what you know.
Right.
What you don't know, you don't know it. So you might think, man, I did everything I could do. Well, no, you didn't. You did everything you knew you could do, but you didn't do everything you could have done. And so because we don't know that, it's hard to just put a statement out there, because somebody might be listening and they pastor might be divorced, and they might say, oh, well, they might see him in the wrong light, but his divorce might have been something that was warranted.
Right.
So you hate to say that, but the point is, loving is the measuring tool for spiritual maturity.
Right.
It's how you love. And that begins with how you identify. Right? And so that is what I would add to that thought, because now you bring that thing down to where the rubber meets the road.
Right.
Like marriage. You hate to say it. You hate to say it like this, but the Bible talks about, you know, those leaders being the husband to one wife. That don't mean, that's not speaking to polygamy. That's speaking to how many times you had to do that thing.
Right.
So, the point is, loving is it. Like, that's it. And marriage was made to be this mechanism of empowerment, of deliverance, of healing, of strengthening, of nourishing, of sanctification, of pleasure, of joy. It was made to be this, and love is at the core of it.
Right.
Love is God's ultimate healing balm for everything. It's love. We can point to love as the ultimate re-energizer, revitalizer, refresher. It's the ultimate healing balm. But you got folks saying you need more love to make marriage work. They're confused. They don't know.
How
Blind
could you
leaders
not
are the
need
blind.
the strongest force the world has ever known?
Because they only see it as an emotion.
Right.
They see it as a feeling. They don't see it as a person. They don't see it as a personality. They don't see it as a persona. They just see it as an emotion that's fleeting. You know, and that's just what it is. When you position marriage at the core, well, I'm saying when you position love at the core, what marriage is supposed to be, this empowerment mechanism, now things will begin to fall in place. But when you don't see that, and we were talking about that this morning, if that's not your perspective, then you at worst, you'll divorce. At best, you'll stay married a long time, but not experience the intimacies, the pleasures, the power, and the purpose the way you intended. And there'll be a degree of frustration, which will ultimately lead to regret, which will ultimately lead to some resentment.
Yep.
And now you're going to have issues. You've been married 35 years.
But you just used to bickering every
But
day.
it ain't.
Right.
It ain't
marriage and what it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
What
the
it's supposed to
quality of it.
Mm-hmm.
The quality of it is not what it's supposed to be. So we want to just recap marriage being this mechanism that empowers the spouse, to be what they fully identify with as a lover. You know, and you know, it may sound, you know, overly simplified, but we're dealing with the root cause of a thing. And we started off several weeks ago talking about marriage being this mechanism. The components of a mechanism for a husband and wife to leverage are found in the Hebrew ideal for marriage, right? The Hebrew idea for marriage, we see it in these definitions. It means listen, the word marriage now, it means to make shine. The idea of something shining, something being polished, something being bright, something looking beautiful. Like like think about that definition of marriage. It means to make another shine. To make my spouse shine. To make shine. I'm responsible for making my wife shine. My wife is responsible for making me look good. Like making me look good, feel good, think good. Like that's my... Hey, what's up, fam? Today's Winners One podcast is brought to you by our Coffee in the Morning Club. Listen, they say right now the divorce rate is anywhere between 58 and 62%, depending on the community or the culture you grew up in. But they say that rate is drastically reduced if you are a couple who finds a community of like-minded couples. We have a Coffee in the Morning Club marriage enrichment community of couples who are driven to have a faith-based marriage. This is a marriage that's based upon the principles that God ordained for marriage to be about. If you want your marriage to be drastically reduced from running into chaos, confusion, and trouble, you need to join this community. It is our Coffee in the Morning Club community that will enrich you and empower you and strengthen you to win and make marriage easy. responsibility is to do whatever I'm able and capable or allowed to do to make you shine from the inside out, to make you feel good about yourself, to make you think good about yourself, to make you talk good about yourself. Nothing like somebody talking good about themselves. That's the ultimate. Man, I talk good about me. Why? Because my wife talk good about me. If a wife hear her husband talking good about her, she's more prone to talk good about herself. If a wife know her husband thinks good about her, then she's more liable to think good about herself. Like, that's how that works. If your children know that their parents think good about them, they're more prone to think good about themselves. That was all the problem with the nation of Israel. They didn't take up, only 2 of them took up God's mind about them. Only 2 of them, Caleb and Joshua. They're the only 2 that had God's mind, that thought about them the way God thought about them. The whole nation thought otherwise. I'm to my 5-6 million folk. Out of 5-6 million folk, 2 of them had the right mindset. Man. Y'all don't understand what that means. We got a whole nation. We got a whole nation of Christians that don't have God's mind about who they are. I'm to my millions and millions and multiple millions of folk running around here talking about I love God, I'm saved, but they still think like old man think about them.
Yeah.
Guess who they got? Guess who they got the mind of? Their father, which is the devil. That's what the Bible says. Jesus said, "Listen, you think the way you think because you are of your father, the devil." Now they're not of him, but they still got his mind.
Right.
So we gotta see that you can have a whole nation thinking wrong about themselves, and 2 people right. But when those 2 people are the only 2 people right against 4 or 5 million people, then they the one that's wrong. They don't want to around. What are you talking about? I don't know. Where you get that from?
Right.
See, where everybody else sick and you heal, now you become the one that's sick. You become abnormal. But you can't be afraid to be. You can't be afraid to be abnormal.
Right.
To the abnormal.
I
can't be afraid to be abnormal to the abnormal.
Right.
That's on them. But you can think what you want to think. I'm gonna think like God. Right? So a husband's responsibility is to get his wife to think about herself like God thinks about her. And a wife's responsibility is to get her husband to think about himself like God thinks about him. Like, that's the power of making them shine. It means to cause to flash forth light. And the thought is when you turn a diamond and the rays of light, and the rays of light that it reflects, it's like there's attributes about you, there's characteristics about you, there's habits that you have that we want to see shoot forth as rays of light. I want to show you off. I want to turn you. I want to put you in the best possible position for your attributes to shine. Like, that's husbandry. That's rivalry. Oh man, I just had a good thought, man. I don't know if
Come on, man. You can't do that. You can't do that.
Maybe don't we talk about that.
Oh.
Listen, I ain't going to put you in a position where you can't perform. I won't put you in a position where you can get it. I ain't going to put you in a situation where you kind of get stuck and you ain't got the right rhythm. I won't put you in a situation where you free to go at it. Yeah. All right, here we go. All right. I mean, to pray, listen, to be married, we talking about the definition of marriage, the Hebrew man. It means to praise, to boast, to be boastful about another. Like, that's what we're talking about. You and a girl get along by yourself. Girl, let me tell you about last night. Bro, let me tell you about what, listen, man, sister so-and-so. Yeah. Oh, she made that thing sing last night.
She made it sing.
She made that thing hum last night. Listen, no, man, last night, no, but that's just a part of it. But really, it's about like talking about like what she does when I come home after a long day of work, and how she relaxes me. Like how when I come home or when she comes home and when we come home together, and like it's being boastful about how we love each other. Right? When you discover that she's somewhere talking about how you love her through a secondary source, it's like, oh, she out there talking about me like that? Man,
It's
come
exhilarating.
on. I can't wait till she get home.
Yeah.
You find out how he talking about you to the boys. You find out from one of the boys' wives. You know your husband was telling my husband how this and that, how you did this. You know he talking about you like that. You be doing. Man, that'll make you feel like, man, he talk about me like that when I ain't around. To boast. We talking about empowering. We talking about motivating. It means to boast of one. It means to praise another. It means to commend. Like, these are the things that we have to take into account when we think about, man, I'm getting married. Folk come to me, they talking about to get married. You ready to celebrate her? You ready to boast about her? You ready to talk to your boys about how good she do this and how good she do that? You ready to write her letters and leave letters and notes and things around how you ready to send her a text and talk about how good she made you feel and how you thankful that you ready to do all those kind of things? You ready to empower her to love? Because that's what marriage is.
Right.
It's empowering her, motivating him, inspiring him to be in the most powerful state that they can possibly be in. To function in the most powerful state a human being could function in. And that's as a lover. Yeah. The most powerful state of being you can ever function in is as a lover. Your most powerful entrepreneurs, your most powerful inventors, your most powerful politicians, your most powerful athletes, your most powerful doctors, lawyers, your most powerful people on the planet are those that walk in love. Those that identify as lovers. And they live to serve people. Them your most powerful people. Is those who identify as lovers. As a husband, as a wife, I'm supposed to empower my wife or my husband to be that to the fullest. That's marriage. Man, we don't see marriage like that.
Ain't nobody talking like that.
If that's how we saw marriage, you wouldn't have as many divorces as you have. It wouldn't be happening. I'm talking about the house of God. I ain't folk outside the house of God. I mean, that's they secondary.
Right.
But judgment begins in the house of God. Like, that's marriage. And we talked about that in the fullness of it and how it's designed to be that unequivocally that. If I'm saying that word right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's it.
Right.
And if you don't have that, okay, don't panic. Don't panic.
Because you can get there.
We can fix that.
Right.
We can fix that. We call it our What Love Is immersion experience. We can fix that. Give us 31 days. We'll fix it.
Yep.
We'll get you on a path to where your marriage becomes this empowerment mechanism that you can't wait to be a part of, that you're excited to take part in, that you look for. See, true power is in my ability to inspire you. It's true power. It's in your ability to move him to do, move him to be who God is called. That's true power.
Without nagging.
True power. Yeah, without nagging. without nagging. With just loving.
Right.
Without being demonstrative and bullying
right.
and fussing and without all the negative. Like, that's easy. Without it. You don't have to do that. You don't have to be that. It happens. It happens through loving. It happens. And we define marriage as a mechanism for husbands and wives to enjoy the intimacies, pleasures, power, and purpose of oneness. You know, oneness has to be the goal. We talked about that. If one is not the goal, then you're gonna miss it in the end. Like, the way marriages are designed to grow is you start from the end and you can go back to the beginning. This is where we're going, babe. We're gonna be one in this thing. We're gonna be one in what we believe. We're gonna be one in what we think. We're gonna be one in what we say. We're gonna be one in what we desire. We're gonna be one in it. Right? We're gonna be one in it. And when we're one in that, that's the goal. Okay, now we gotta go back. Okay? What do we believe about this? Like, these are real conversations that you gotta have.
Right.
Like, you look at the primary determinants of what makes life, and you say, what do we believe about this? What do we believe about how we're gonna love each other? What do we believe about communication? What do we believe about our sexuality? What do we believe about
Hey, what's up? Coach D here. Listen, I got something I need to say to you real quick. Listen, marriage is made for lovers. Now, once you understand that marriage is made for lovers and you're not listening to them folks that keep saying you need more than love to make marriage work, you have to identify as a lover. Once you identify as a lover, now you got to learn what love is. Guess what? We have something for you that can help you understand exactly what love is in its most comprehensive nature. It's so much more than just an emotion. But you got to get the book to find out exactly what God's intent was for love and how it functions. Thanks. Get the book. God bless.
Making money. What do we believe about multiplying money? What do we believe about managing money? What do we think about? Like we gotta have those conversations around those primary determinants that'll enable you to enter into this level of oneness that'll bring a level of pleasure when it's all said and done. A sense of intimacy and power, which makes marriage. See, when you got intimacy, when you got pleasure, you got purpose, and you have power flowing, that's when your marriage really is operating at its highest level of empowerment. None like intimacy to empower a husband or wife. None like it. From a spiritual to a soulish, emotional, psychological, physical, sexual, there's nothing like that intimacy. Nothing like the motivating power of pleasure.
Yeah.
Like we taught a lesson on marriage from the secret place. Nothing like the pleasures of the everything from lying next to my wife and rubbing her feet with my feet or feeling her flop her leg over my leg. There's nothing like from that to the apex of that thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing like it.
Yeah.
Nothing like the pleasure. Most folk don't understand God used pleasure as a motivator.
I was just like I like what you said earlier when you were talking about how when you have that aspect of your marriage flowing the way it's supposed to flow, you always working on something. Mm-hmm. You always, you know what I mean? You're always working towards the goal of that apex. Listen,
I'm trying to touch that.
I'm trying to set it up as many times as I can to let it be known.
I'm trying to get touched.
Right. I'm trying to rub on something.
I thought you was going to. I thought you was going to the breast comment.
No.
I thought you was going to that.
I don't even know how you bring that up in this conversation, but
oh my God.
You want to share?
You want to tell the folk about it?
Yo. I was somewhere. Eris was bringing up something, and I was thinking, and it triggered the thought that I had earlier, just about how genius it was for God. It was genius for him to create breasts of a woman. It was genius. It was genius. Think about it. It was just genius. How you distinguish a man from a woman just by sight.
Yeah.
Breasts. It was genius. I was somewhere I was picking up some food, and a young lady walked in, and you could tell she worked out, mm-hmm. and she was petite, but it was like her breast was perfectly proportioned mm-hmm. for her work, and I just looked at her, and I'm like, and it just came to me like, wow, that was genius of God to do that. It was just genius. And I'm not talking about the health ramifications. I'm not talking about the nourishment, the light that it brings to the husband and the wife. I'm just talking about the mere distinction of a man and a woman. It was genius for God to be like, you know what? I got to be able to distinguish between the male and I'm going to give her some breasts.
Like, think of everything that breast does from a marketing perspective all the way down to a health perspective.
Everything.
Right.
It was genius. Yeah. It was genius. Something that simple was genius. It brings life. Yep. It was genius. It inspires. It empowers. Because if I want to get a closer look at it a little bit later on, I'm going to do right. It
inspires.
I'm going to do right.
That's right.
It was just genius. I don't know. It just came to me as I was in the restaurant. It's like, that was genius of God. It was genius to create this part of this woman. I really like. That's what Adam didn't know, the inner workings of Eve.
He only knew what he saw.
He just knew what he saw.
Yeah.
That's why, Sister Kayleen, The second person I'm looking for, when we get up there, the second person, first person is Jesus. Where you at?
Right.
I got to go dab him. The second person, yo, can y'all find Miss, point me to Mrs. Adam, please? I got to see this thing here. I got to see this thing. I got to see it. Because she had to be something else. She had to be something. For this man to respond the way he responded,
Right.
she had to be something. She had to be something to see. Right? But that it's like it was genius. Mm-hmm. Marriage as a mechanism of empowerment is genius. Mm-hmm. It's brilliant. It's the very thing that will cause a perpetuation of life,
Right.
of divine life. It's marriage. It's designed to go from generation to generation.
Yep.
It's genius. It's a mechanism of power. And we talked about how a husband's empowerment mechanism is to speak comfortably to his wife. We talked about how a wife's empowerment mechanism is to speak encouragingly to a husband. Right? A wife needs to be spoken comfortably to. A husband needs to be spoken in an encouraging way, a way that encourages him, a way that empowers him to go forward and be. A wife needs to be spoken to comfortably. And we took that from God's telling Hosea that he was going to draw Israel out into the wilderness that he might speak comfortably unto her. He was going to empower her with his words. Paul picked this up in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25 and says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. Right? The whole idea of Christ loving the church was about empowerment.
Right.
It was about reestablishing the original order. That's what it's about. The whole of salvation is about empowerment.
Right.
It's about the reinvestment of the divine power of God into his new creature.
So this is a little bit more of a pop culture reference, but I like this connection when you're talking about the power of marriage, right? And understanding how to wield that power, right? So you ever seen The Dark Knight? Batman?
Yes.
The one with the with Joker?
Yep.
Remember he used to walk around with that pencil in the beginning?
I don't.
So one of the first killings that you seen him do was he walked into a room and he set a pencil on the table. And when he does that, it's just a little innocent number 2 pencil, right? And you see this clown walking in the room, you don't think, like, you just kind of think of him as a joke, like he looks like an idiot, right? Until he takes the dude's head and slams it down into the pencil and kills him with it.
Right.
Right? The connection that I'm making is this. Something as simple as a pencil can have enough power, enough force, enough of a use to kill somebody.
Right.
Nobody thinks about the pencil like that unless you have a level of powerful thinking.
Imagination,
right?
Yeah.
It's the same exact thing when it comes to marriage. There are so many different that we talked about before about how people who are married make 10% more than people who are not married.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a financial benefit to it too. So if you really take the time to understand what the word says about the power of marriage, the authority of marriage, the benefit of marriage, the favor of marriage, like all these different aspects of marriage that add to your life things that you can't get anywhere else. That creates a level of power, a level of thinking, like it's unmatched. It's unmatched.
I like that. When you was talking, it reminded me of this. So the other day, I met one of Sister Leslie's friends for the first time. And I say this jokingly, but there's a truth to it both ways. And as I was leaving, she was like, well, I'm glad I had a chance to meet you, and I've been knowing Leslie for a long time, and she's this and she's that. She started listing several things about how good she thought Leslie. I said, well, you should meet her husband. You should meet her husband. Right? So the idea that I'm communicating is the reason she's that great is because she got a husband that loves her to be that great.
Right.
When you see a husband that's confident, when you see a husband that's lively and vibrant, you know he got something good at home.
Oh yeah.
Something working out. When you see a wife that's walking around confident and bold and brash, feminine, and all of her glory and power, you know, oh, who loving her like that? Somebody loving her good. Right? That's the idea of marriage.
Yep.
That's the idea. When you got husbands and wives walking around here and they full of vigor and life and power and movement and motion and they talking life, they speaking life, they think, man, somebody loving them good. Somebody giving them good loving.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we should be able to look at in the body.
Hey, what's up, fam? I want to thank you first of all for watching our podcast. Now, secondly, I want to give you some information that is very important. I was recently talking to a couple, and as we were assessing their marital situation, they came to the conclusion that the problem that they were dealing with was because they hadn't laid the proper foundation to build the marriage that they wanted to build. I said, that's exactly right, and I have a solution for you. We put together a marriage mastery curriculum that establishes a foundation that will enable you to build the marriage you desire. We talk about things as far as your identity as a lover. We talk about how to build a culture of love. We talk about heroic husbandry. We talk about wondrous wifery. We talk about edifying communication. We talk about grace-filled communication. We cover so much in this curriculum that it's going to put you on the path to be marriage masters. Now, what I need you to do is click the link in the description. This is going to give you some more insight in just how you can enroll right now into our course. If you are newlywed, if you just engaged, if you recently married, this is a great course for you. You need to check it out. We got a great price for you. We got a payment plan that you can enroll in. So go now, click the link below and get more information. And I'll see you in our Marriage Masters University. Christ, when we look at marriages, when we look at the aspects of believers' lives, like man, they got it.
You want to see the adverse of that. Like you want to see the difference between a marriage that's operating at that level and a marriage that's not. You talked about the difference, the difference in characteristics, right? Mm-hmm. Like Caitlin might be, super confident, super feminine, stuff like that, right? I equate that to what Tom Brady looks like with no confidence. Mm. Is he winning championships that?
No.
Right? Is LeBron James winning championships with no? If he ain't getting empowered, he ain't going to. Right? Michael Jordan ain't doing. If he ain't being empowered, he ain't doing none of that. Right? So that's how we got to think about the way that we empower our spouses through the mechanism.
Right.
Right? We're instilling in them that championship level, mentality, that championship level loving nature, that culture that's designed to, continuously multiply that thing. Like we talked about before. Once you get the culture going, it's like an alternator. It just keeps building up more and more energy.
Right. But what you just said, that's what the name means.
Yeah. Champion,
conqueror. That's what Adam said. She's just like me. Someone call her woman. Man with a womb. That's what when you look up the name man, it means champion, conqueror, overcomer. Mm. That's what it is. A championship culture is what marriage is supposed to be. It's a mechanism to produce champions, dominators, overcomers, winners. That's what marriage is. But it's built into identifying as a lover and its language.
Yep.
Love comes with its own language. The language of love, listen, the Hebrew language is the purest, most powerful language there is. You got to speak outside of the Hebrew tongue to curse somebody. There's no curse words in Hebrew. There's no words that produce death. You
That
got to
is-
speak outside of the language.
That is nuts.
The language of love. Ain't no cursing in the language of love. Ain't no speaking death in nobody in the language of love. Only speaking life.
So if we sitting here talking in English, I gotta speak Spanish just to curse
Just to
at
curse
you.
me out.
Man,
The love of language. When you start cursing and speaking death to somebody, in this case, particularly your husband or your wife, you got to speak outside of the language of love. You're not in love right now, baby. The way you're talking to me, you out of love. You out of love. Built into marriage being this empowered mechanism is the language of love. When I identify as a lover, I speak as a lover. That's what Ezekiel 16 was about. We ain't got time to read that though. So
man, it's a bad time to run out of time.
yeah, it's done. Yeah, we've been out of time.
So we wrapped it up. Did we wrap it up?
Yeah.
We got it all.
We ain't gonna get it all. We just gotta stop.
All right. So to recap, make sure you go back and watch the videos. There's a few of them.
Yeah,
You know, to make sure you you get all the information. Again, if you haven't joined Coffee in the Morning Club, make sure you do that. And we are going to see you next week with a new topic. Do you know what next week's topic is?
No, not yet.
Yeah. All right. Well, it'll be a surprise.
We'll figure out something.
Tune in next week for our new topic. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Good.